Welcome, everyone. I am Brian Smith, publisher of Inside the Knights on Fan Nation, powered by Sports Illustrated. And this is going to be a rundown of top teams in the AP poll, why they should or shouldn't be there, and where UCF should have been ranked because they were absolutely snubbed in the first poll. First part, we're going to just talk a little bit about the AP poll, like the top 15, then kind of move down, then go over a few schools and why I think they should have went down or up, and kind of go from there. First off, the top 6 or 7 schools, it's fine. There's kind of a defining line there. I would say 6, Georgia, Texas A&M right in there. I would have flipped a couple of teams from 7 and 8 in the 9 and 10 spots, but it's not that big a deal. I think anybody can look at that list and be somewhat happy. The one that I think is overrated is Iowa State, and I'll get into that in a second. The next group is where I find a little bit more of a problem. 11 and 12 are Oregon and Wisconsin in that order. Definitely not very thrilled with that. I don't like that at all. 19 is unique to me because it's actually below what I would expect them to be ranked normally, and that would be Penn State. But after you start a season 0 and 5, I know they rebounded, ended up 4 and 5, but they were horrible last year. Some say, oh, it was COVID. Well, everybody went through COVID last year. Cry me a river. Everybody went through it. I don't want to hear that they had this problem and all of a sudden nobody else did. Something's wrong there. The coaching at Penn State, especially on offense, on game day, critical situations, has been a problem for a while. That's something I don't understand. Now, when you move down the list a little further, once you get into the 20s and then like the extra votes and all that, looking at that, UCF ended up being 40th, if I remember correctly, 15 spots below the AP top 25. Here's why I think they should be considered in that mix before I come in and go through an entire list of reasons. Here's just a couple of points. Number one, just as an example, Wisconsin, ranked number 12. They averaged 25.1 points per game last year. 25.1. In today's era, that is beyond mediocre. That is below mediocre. It is pedestrian at best. And they're ranked 12th. I know they have offensive linemen. Fantastic. Good for Wisconsin. They have a great offensive line tradition. They've got running backs. Their quarterback just didn't develop that well last year. He had a ton of talent, but he had a really good first game and then just fell off completely. I don't know what happened. Prove it to me. I'm a glass half empty guy, and I openly admit it. But after that pathetic performance offensively in terms of finishing drives, especially in the passing game, I don't see how you can rank them there. Conversely, put them against UCF, 42 points a game. Okay, they don't play in the Big Ten, but the Big Ten's not known for elite defense. It's a lot of muck, especially in the latter half of the season with the weather. But their defenses aren't as good as what people make them out to be because the corners and outside, that's outside the numbers. The Big Ten's just not that great. They're always good in the box, size, lineman, defensive lineman, offensive lineman, linebacker. Corner, not as much outside of Ohio State, which they've got pretty much everything. I just don't see it. Why in the world would Wisconsin be ranked that high and UCF so low? I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense. UCF's a top 25 team at minimum. Wisconsin shouldn't even be ranked in the top 15. It's ridiculous. Next, I want to talk a little bit about Oregon. This is a unique team. They have maybe the best defensive end on the West Coast, Thibodeau. Very good player. Excuse me. He has electric talent. Going to be a first-round draft pick. All the above. He doesn't score points. Their quarterback situation is iffy. Brown, the transfer from BC, is probably going to be the quarterback. Good player, but does he get you over the top and beating USC, Washington, whomever it may be? And I can't see that. He's an average quarterback. Number 11. No, I don't see that. Again, you have to score to win games. You're going to tell me against Caden Slovis and teams that can really throw it that you're going to trust that? I know they've got defense. They've got a linebacker that's very good. They've got a secondary that's got some key parts. Not buying it. Penn State in general and some of these other schools, Miami's another one you could look at, but they've got a tremendous quarterback, in my opinion. D'Eriq King, I think he's a great player, and I hope the best for him. I kind of root for him, just like the way he plays. But there are a lot of teams that I'm like, maybe it's just college football. It's just so top heavy, and I'm being critical. Excuse me. I just don't see how teams without any quarterback play from last year are ranked in the top 15 to top 20. If you don't follow Penn State, do you really know who their quarterback is? I'm a football nut, and I had to look up their quarterback. He wasn't that great last year. He was okay. But he went through some real up and down spots. They had issues in regards to their offensive line, and I'm being very nice. I don't understand. I mean, their offensive line was getting pushed backwards last year, and they recruited very well. That's why I question their coaching. There's something wrong there. This is a problem, and it leads to this. While the AP poll does not count, very critical point here, does not count as far as the college football playoff. That is true. Because that poll will come out October, and that's fine. That's how they do it. The problem is perception. It changes recruiting. It changes attitudes. It changes scheduling. It changes TV. A lot of the people in the so-called Associated Press media, the ability to vote on these, they're lazy. They're very lazy. You're not going to convince me otherwise. And the reason is what this poll is. I'm sitting here looking at my notes, and I'm laughing. Ole Miss, who can light it up, you know Lane's going to get players. He can recruit. I'm not an Ole Miss homer by any stretch or any SEC team, straight up. I'm not. But I'll watch their games because I know they can compete with anybody on a given day. They were within 10 points of Alabama. Yet they're not in the top 25 this year with a returning quarterback who will play in the NFL. They're not in the top 25. I know their defense needs a lot of help. I guarantee you, without even going through Lane Kiffin's list of recruits, that they have a couple of transfers, JUCO or otherwise, plus high school kids are going to change that defense for the better this season. Color me a very big skeptic, but I'm sorry. I don't see how they're not ranked in the top 25 in Oregon, who has all kinds of quarterback problems, is. And not only is, they're almost in the top 10. You have to score in today's era. Even Nick Saban talks about that. Where is the sanity with this polling? That comes into the next point. Just flat out political bias. I went to this school. I'm from this area. I like this conference. I'm too lazy to really research it. I'm going to give this list to my intern. These are things that have been accused with the coaches poll over years, and coaches have admitted it, which is really dumb because they're impacting themselves. But the Associated Press poll, that's what this is telling me. There's no way all these guys and gals are researching this correctly. Zero chance. Zero. Oregon at 11. Good defense, but you got to score. Who's going to be that guy? Who's going to be the go-to receiver that's going to actually get the pass? Who's going to be the critical player for them on offense? They've got a physical offensive line, but they lost their best lineman to the draft, and he's a stud. How in the world are you going to put them 11 and Ole Miss is not even ranked? Now, with all that, I'm not saying UCF should be ranked 11th. They should not. Let me be very clear about that and say that again. They are not a top 15 team preseason. No way. I had them 19th in my poll. That's just where I had them. Tentatively speaking, and it's very tentative at that, they could go up or down based on the first game. They play Boise State, which is a quality program. Both teams are absolutely going to be going through changes on offense and defense because they got new head coaches, new staffs. It's part of the business. Too bad, adjust. The Knights, however, returned Dillon Gabriel, Jalen Robinson, Ryan O'Keefe, some really talented skill guys that are probably going to get paid at some point to play this game called football at the National Football League level. When you have playmakers like that, you're at home, etc., you got a pretty good chance. I like the Knights in the first game by about 10. Maybe they don't win by that much, but I'm going to go with Gabriel in a close game at home to open the season. With that stated, how many teams are really going to outscore them, even if their defense is mediocre to not even that good this year? They dropped 42 points a game last year when the other teams were going up and down the field and controlling the ball, keeping Gabriel off the field. Now the Knights add Big Kat Williams. They get Kalia Davis back, which in my opinion is as big, if not bigger factor than Big Kat because he can play zero technique in a three-man line. He can play one. He can play the three. Very versatile player. 300-pounders that can move like that, change your defense. Plus, Go ahead and double him. Now Big Kat on 3rd and 7 is coming off the edge. They have Cam Good. They have some really talented players. Tremont Morris Brash. You can't double them all. They all have experience. They're very motivated, especially Big Kat. He told me that to my face, and believe me, I believed him the way he looked at me. I was concerned for my safety at that point. He is ready to go, and he's going to get single covered a lot. Good luck. Their defense is going to take a big step up. Mark that down, especially against the run because they're so athletic in their front 7. I didn't even talk about the linebackers like Gilliard. They're really talented. Now the question is this. Who, if anybody, in UCF secondary is going to step up? They got smoked way too many times last year. Part of it was on the front 7, but the secondary didn't tackle well enough, and they were out of position and or made mental errors. The reason I had them 19th is I just figured natural progression. They had 2 or 3 freshmen that played a ton of snaps last year at corner. One of them started all the games. A guy like Thornton is going to play a lot. He has to. I mean, he's talented. He's 6'1", 6'2". Miami kid that can run. Okay, that's great. How many other guys? Is it Brown? Is it somebody else? I don't know who it's going to be. Is Devon Wilson going to be that safety to make that transition? I don't know. Somebody has to step up and not be good. Let me be very clear here. For UCF to reach just the goal I said at being number 19, which means you go 10-2, 9-3, but to move up into that next echelon and reach number 15, number 12, number 9, somewhere in that range, you need a defensive player in the back end that takes the ball away. Not deflections, not changes the trajectory of a pass, picks it off. They need picks. Straight up calling them out. It is time for the defense to be known for something other than giving up big plays. They need to make them. That is just straight up the way it is. UCF has a lot of talent in the secondary, and they're huge. It's one of the biggest secondaries in the country. Every guy at corner is listed at 6 foot or greater. I don't think I've ever seen that before. There's always a 5'9", 5'10" kid in every secondary at corner, but I digress. The point is still the same. You got to make the play. You can look pretty in the uniform. You got to make the play. UCF deserves to be ranked higher, but in my opinion, the reason they're not is what I just talked about. You got smoked last year too many times, and now you're kind of paying the price for it. Just like I'm picking on Oregon, and rightfully so. Quarterback situation's iffy. Secondary is iffy for UCF until otherwise proven. That's just a fact. UCF has the talent. New coaching staff, much easier scheme. I expect that Travis Williams is not going to make the same mistakes that the prior staff did and try to get guys that learn 2-3 positions. That's ridiculous. They're going to run downhill. They'll mix up coverages. They'll play 3-3-5 or 4-2-5. They'll mix that up a little bit. But most of that is semantics. Same responsibilities. Allow athletic ability to get the feet to the ball. As many hats to the ball as possible. Let the chips fall where they may. But it's still going to come down to that secondary because you're going to play Louisville. Cunningham can throw it. You're going to play against Cincinnati on the road, just offensively in general. I'm not even going to talk about their quarterback, who's a good player, but their offense has weapons, and they're very, very consistent. I like that offense more than some other people do because they give you balance, run and pass. And they also play teams that can just score in general. That is what the American Athletic Conference is known for. No reason to think that if UCF doesn't bring its A game for any one of the games they play this year, Memphis, for example, you can lose real quick. Again, it's going to come down to those DBs. Dillon Gabriel does not make tackles. He throws passes. Somebody has to step up in that secondary. So I'm going to wrap up with this. UCF, I expect to win 10 or more games this year. But for me to be right, Dillon can still throw for 3,500 to 4,000, which is about where he will be. But he has to do so because it's within the flow of the game, not because they're down 28-10 in the middle of the third quarter. They have to be able to be consistent, and that means the defense isn't giving up big plays. If you give Gabriel the football with the lead after he's kind of in a rhythm, middle of the second quarter, early second quarter, man, you can blow some teams out. Just like a basketball player, he hits a couple of shots, he gets in a rhythm. Same thing with Gabriel. They've got an experienced offensive line. They're explosive out wide. They have a chance to do it. Corner is the key for the Knights. This is Brian Smith. You can see more stuff like this on my site, Inside the Knights. You can see it scrolling on the bottom. I'm going to be doing quite a few things about polls, NFL draft and stuff as we lead up to the season. right here on this YouTube channel. And I'm going to dump some of these into my articles as well. Kind of curious what people think. Leave me a comment, like, whatever it may be. Happy to get some feedback. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.